If you're gonna be uncomfortable, your reward has to be big.
Being uncomfortable needs to be a trigger for action.
The key is to deactivate the beliefs that disempower you and to create a new belief that matches the vision and goal you have.
Rise and shine, it's Entspresso time. Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I am not a morning person. But when you start your day with an inspiring routine that gets you motivated for success, like watching one of these videos, it will change your life. So let's start your day off right together. Grab your coffee, know that I believe in you, and get ready for a shot of Entspresso from John Assaraf.
I wake up every morning. Espresso keep me going. I wake up every morning.
If you're gonna be uncomfortable, your reward has to be big.
Yeah, I think so.
So if you're gonna be making a change, ask yourself, why is what I want to achieve so important to me? Why am I willing to use my new willpower and persistence? And why am I willing to go through the discomfort of change? Why am I willing to listen to the negative talk that I have or the emotion that I have and still do it anyway? And if you don't have a big enough reason, the first time you have a chance for an excuse, you'll take it. And that's why they start on diets, and after a day or a week or 2 weeks, they're off the diet. Or they say, you know what, I'm not happy in my relationship. And 2 weeks later, they're back with the same person, or they find another person just like the one that they left. Or people are afraid to leave their jobs because they don't like the discomfort of change.
Yeah.
Well, the only certain thing in the universe, the only constant is change.
Yeah, every time, change.
Everything, that's the only constant in the universe. It's an oxymoron. It's like, how can change be the only constant, the only stable thing? Because everything's changing. So why not acquire the skill
To change every time.
to be comfortable in change? And in today's era...
To be comfortable within comfort.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, and so I know that the meaning that I give, remember I said you have to reframe things?
Yes.
The meaning I give things now is when I'm uncomfortable, I'm changing and I'm growing and I go, yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect.
It's uncomfortable, but this is what I want,
Yeah.
right? And then so we go through these waves of comfort and change, and that's just like the waves of life.
Being uncomfortable needs to be a trigger for action. When you're uncomfortable, when your heart's beating like crazy, when you're nervous, when you're scared, where it's scary, difficult, hard, those words come to mind, you're uncomfortable, that needs to be a trigger to action. Because your entire life, the great life that you want, your goals, your ambitions, your dreams, the great life that you want is gonna require you to do things that make you feel uncomfortable. Just think about it. If you kept doing everything exactly the same, you're totally inside your comfort zone, you never change, are you gonna hit your goals? You're gonna create your great life? If yes, then awesome, keep going. But it's probably a no, because we as humans wanna grow, and growing requires doing new things that we've never done before. And with that, we risk failure, we risk judgment, we risk it not working out. And that's what we try to avoid. So we're in this constant push and pull between wanting to grow, wanting to learn, wanting to improve. Yes, I want to achieve my goals, and oh, I can't do that. What if I fail? What if it doesn't work out? What if people see me? What are they going to say? What's the judgment going to be? You have to first get one with the idea that if you want to accomplish your big goals, you will have to go on and do uncomfortable things. That's why it's called a comfort zone. Because you have to break out of the comfort zone to get to the growth zone. So I was talking to an entrepreneur yesterday, somebody new who I'm mentoring, training, helping, and he's in a client service business, and so he's helping people with the service. He's great at what he does. He's world class. He can help a lot of people, and he's stepping into his zone of genius to be. He's not comfortable saying that he's great at it. He's not comfortable stepping up and telling the clients what they need to do. He's not comfortable yet, and that's okay, and that's part of the process. So what I told him to do is every 2 weeks, and this is valuable for anybody in client services, every 2 weeks you send a follow-up email with value. So if you're going to talk about cars, right? If you have a car service business and you talk to somebody and they're a potential client for you, every 2 weeks you're sending them value. Not, hey, are you ready to buy it? Hey, are you ready to buy it? Hey, are you ready to buy it? Not that, because people don't like the spam. But think about what is a value. What's a value to that person? So if you're in the car business, then is it cleaning? It's summertime coming up, so what do I have to do for my car for summer? Is it I gotta rotate my wheels? I gotta, what do I need to do? Give me value. Teach me. So this is what I was telling him. You need to educate the client, and every 2 weeks give value. It's like, oh, that makes me very uncomfortable. And to his credit, here's what he said. Like, it makes me very uncomfortable, but I don't know if it's just me holding myself back or if it's against what I believe in, or it's against what's a smart decision to do. And so we broke it down and had a conversation, discovered, no, he's just afraid. He's just afraid. Like, what are you afraid of? Well, I'm afraid that when I send out the email, people won't receive it well. Like, well, what's the intention? Is the intention just to sell them, or is the intention to actually help them and teach them something? Like, well, the intention is to help and teach them. Great, send the email. He sent an email, and the caveat was, okay, Evan, if it doesn't work out, I'm gonna blame you. So he's got a list. It's not a big list. It's maybe 10 people that he sent it to. He's pretty new in the business. So he sent it out to 10 people who he's going to do, follow-ups with. Instead of, are you ready to buy? You ready to buy? He's sending value. So he sent it off to the 10 people. The caveat was, if it doesn't work, I'm going to blame you, Evan. I said, fine, no problem. I'll own it. If it doesn't work out, this is the email. Let me read it first. It was lots of great value. If that email gets you a lot of negative pushback, it's my fault. Great. And that gave him, it was a joke, but also gave him the confidence to send it out. The same day, he gets an email back from one of them, said, hey, thank you for this. I'm going to hire you soon. That's how it works. And for a lot of entrepreneurs, it's hard to put yourself out there, and it's hard to be in sales, and it's hard to get rejected. It's hard. But the alternative is you staying exactly where you are. Most of the discomfort that you face is probably good for you. The challenge is our brain convinces us as to why we can't do it, where deep down you're just afraid. And so with every uncomfortable decision that you have to go through, think, is this actually against my core values? Is my intention here good? If your intention is good and it makes you uncomfortable, then you have to do it. If the intention is bad, if it's actually against your core values, then don't do it. But just watch out that your brain doesn't trick you or convince you, because the entrepreneur that I was talking to yesterday would have said, well, this isn't how I normally do things. This is against, what I would normally believe in. But it's not actually against what he believes in. He's just afraid of rejection. He's just afraid of how it's going to be seen. And again, to his credit, he said, I don't know if this is just me thinking small or being stuck in my limiting beliefs. So think about, what is the thing that's causing you some discomfort right now? What do you need to do? This is a good exercise. What do you need to do for your business? Like, just be honest. Where are you right now? What do you need to do for your business? What's the next step? What's the next bigger step that you're, finally want to take? What's the step that you want to take? What is that step? You've got it in the back of your mind. You don't believe it's possible, but you've got it in the back of your mind. What is that step? And then what's the discomfort that's going to come with it? Whether you need to get in front of the camera, whether you need to get on stage, whether you need to make phone calls, whether you need to network, whether you need to introduce yourself. What's the discomfort that you're going to have to go through to get to your goal? And then, is your intention positive or not? Is your intention to serve? It's what always helps me, is coming back to service. My intention is to serve. My intention is to do good. My intention is to help. Is your intention positive? Is your intention to serve? Great. Then go do something. Go do it. Go do it. Because when you look back in 10 years, you're going to wish that you had. You're going to wish that today, in this moment, you had the courage to go do the thing that you knew you were capable of doing, but were just afraid. That's all it is. You know you're capable of doing it. You're just afraid. And that fear, that discomfort can no longer be a good enough reason for you to stay small. Now, I've got some special bonus clips that I think you're going to enjoy. But before that, it's time for the question of the day. I want to know, what was your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week? When you watch a video and just get motivated, the science says you have a 35% chance of following through. That's it. 35%. That's not enough. Guys, we're here. You have a mission. You have to take action and build something important. But when you get motivated and then create a specific plan of action outlining how you're going to do it, you have a 91% chance of following through. And when you commit publicly to others, it jumps to 95%. That's what I want for you. So, question of the day, your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week, put it down in the comments below so I can celebrate you.
Hey, this is John Assaraf, and do you love good books? I love to read because there's so much wisdom in books. You get to take somebody else's knowledge, skills, research, pay 15, 20 bucks, and you learn so much. Now, I'm reading this awesome book called Built to Serve. Find your purpose and become the leader you were born to be. And one of my new friends, really smart guy, really great guy who serves a lot of people, Evan Carmichael, wrote it. And I'm going to read a little bit from chapter number 1. And I love this piece. And maybe it's because I just watched the series on TV on Michael Jordan, The Last Dance, which is really great, by the way, also. One of the things he says here is everybody has Michael Jordan talent at something. Everybody has a Michael Jordan talent at something. You just haven't found it yet. Or you have and you don't believe in yourself enough to go all in. To go all in, right? And you're a genius. I believe you're a genius. And so does he. You're amazing. You were not meant to live a photocopy of someone else's life. You were not created to wake up and do work that is below your capabilities. You have Michael Jordan level talent at something, and you need to uncover exactly what your purpose is and how you can serve and use the serve. So lots of pearls and gems and motivational pieces. Pick up Built to Serve. Evan Carmichael, rising star. Your brain has neuromuscles.
Okay.
Right, so if you think about, if we want to build our bicep muscle or our chest or our shoulders or our legs, we go to the gym, we do exercises, or we go and hike or run or bike or walk or do whatever it is. Well, what do you do to strengthen your confidence muscle? What do you do to strengthen your self-esteem muscle? What do you do to strengthen your tenacity or resolve muscle? What do you do to strengthen any of your core neuromuscles like awareness? How do you strengthen your awareness? How do you strengthen your ability to focus and stay laser disciplined on an achievement of a goal? These are all neuromuscles that you can strengthen. But nobody, up until now, has come up with, here are the exercises for your neuromuscles instead of the exercises for your physical muscles until NeuroGym and Innercise. First exercise that you teach anybody, it's kind of like learning the alphabet first. So take 6, calm the circuits. There's 3 foundational exercises we teach in the book. There's many more. Yeah. But the first one is just to deactivate the stress reactive center in the brain. And you do that through 6 deep breaths in 10-second increments. So you take a deep breath in through your nose. And then as you blow out, pretend you're blowing out through a straw. So all of your energy is towards that focus. Ready? So 3, 2, 1. You do that 6 times, and we can see in brain scan images that the stress response center lowers and in many cases deactivates, which throws blood back to the left prefrontal cortex. Your state of awareness increases, And then you can move to inner size number 2, which is called Aya, A-I-A, which is now in a calm, relaxed state. Now, the first A stands for awareness of my thoughts, emotions, feelings, sensations, and what have been my behaviors for, let's say, the last 5 minutes or hour. Awareness without shame, blame, guilt, justification, or judgment. Pure awareness. Calm state. Then what is my intention? Well, my intention is to be happy. I've been feeling sad. My intention is to be happy. My intention is to be focused, not scattered. Great. Let me give myself 1 or 2 intentions. Then the next A stands for what's one action to move me towards that. So if your intention is to be happy, why not look up and smile? Just look up and smile, because when you look up and smile, you release the neurochemistry of happiness, and you cannot look up and be angry, sad, mad, disappointed. You cannot. And if you look up and smile, we are wired to look up to heaven, let's say, and be hopeful. And we are wired that when we smile, the neurochemistry of happiness is firing through our bloodstream. Wow. And so if you just do inner size number 1 and 2, now you get awareness and you calm down the circuits. And then if you learn inner size number 3, it's called actors. It's called actors. No, hold on a second. I'm losing inner size number 3.
Focus.
It is called. It'll come back to me in just a moment. But the third inner size is around. It's an actor's studio exercise. Basically, it's an inner size. So any actor in the world can switch from being happy or sad or mad or disappointed or any modality of physiology that you want them to take on. They can command it on command. Right? And so if somebody's unhappy, could you teach yourself to be happy in less than 3 seconds? And the answer is yes, if you chose to.
So control of emotions.
Control of emotions. Yeah. And so when we focus on the core emotions people have of happiness, sadness, shame, disgust, contempt, love, we can learn how to switch between those on any given moment. But most people, what happens, they get caught up in this emotion, energy and motion that's negative or disempowering, and then they think about how they feel, and they feel what they're thinking about, and they keep perpetuating the same pattern, and that's not where it ends. And this is where the problem lays, is if you do that on a regular basis, your brain says, since you're repeating this, let me just make this a habit, and I'll just create that on command for you, so you're in that state more frequently. And then they don't know how to interrupt that pattern and create a new empowered state.
Not having a sales process. What does that mean? So let me share with you just a sales process. So you need to think in systems, right? If this and this and this and this happens, then X is predictable. So let's say you are going to do a Instagram Live, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, LinkedIn Live event. You have to think past the event. You have to think past the event. Then what? Like if somebody comes to your event, if somebody reads your blog, if somebody reads your Twitter feed, if somebody watches your TikTok, like then what? Like what is the process by which you share your product, service, or knowledge, information, tidbits around the things that you want to share? Then what? Like, what do you want them to do next? Now, before you ask people to do something like give you their email, oh, I want your email. Before you ask them to, sign up for this free event or this paid event, you have to give them value, right? Give them value. Give them something tangible, and don't be afraid to give. When I wrote my book, Inner Size, all of my books, everything that I write in my books is the stuff in my head that I'm working with clients who pay me $5,000 an hour. They just want to go deeper on the work for me to help them implement it. But I want to give value. And then I can say, hey, if you want to go deeper, get my books. You want to go deeper, get my programs. You want to go deeper, get into my coaching program. You want to go deeper, hire me as a consultant. But first, give the knowledge. So here's the question that you want to ask yourself. What problem does your product or service solve? What fear does it eliminate? What pain does it eliminate? What gain do people have because of the product? Whenever I am looking to give people content, I'm always looking at understanding what are the pains, fears, frustrations, irritations, wants, needs, and aspirations. Let me repeat. What are the pains, fears, frustrations, irritations, wants, needs, and aspirations of the person who wants to buy whatever it is, that I have to offer? It doesn't make a difference. Somebody sold all this stuff. By the way, here's my gratitude coin, right? Gratitude. So, whether it's glasses, spray, a pen, a magnifying glass, a gratitude coin, the camera that I'm looking into, the computer, the stand, somebody had to sell that. And every single product or service either eliminates a pain, fear, frustration, irritation, or helps people with a want, need, or aspiration, right? So how do you give somebody content and information and value in advance? And I'll sit on my board or on my keyboard and I will ask, what is it that people want and need that I could help them with? And then I create, whether it's blogs, articles, videos, process maps, and I give them away.
Cognitive priming, right? So what's cognitive priming? So think about this. When a baby is learning how to eat, okay, what does, mommy or daddy do? Mommy or daddy, takes the spoon and, she puts it in the jar. She pretends to eat it herself. And then she puts it into the baby's mouth. Open the mouth. And she puts it, and she does that to cue the baby's brain of what to do. So she pretends she's doing it herself. She gets the baby to do it. And through this repetition, a baby will learn spoon in the hand, in the jar, spoon has food on it. Mommy's opening her mouth. She's bringing it to me. Open my mouth. I put the food in my mouth. Oh, this yummy thing feels so good. Oh, yum, 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 right? And mommy and daddy go, num, 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 num. So eat this food. And so if you think about what's actually happening, we're getting the motor cortex of her brain going. We're getting her taste buds going. At a certain point, we'll put the spoon in her mouth and put her hand in the jar so that she could do it for herself. So we're priming her through visual cues, through auditory cues, through taste cues, right? Through all of the different senses, we're priming her brain, and then we're reinforcing it day after day after day after day to create the neural network, the connections in the brain that if I want that yummy food in my mouth, I have to learn how to take the spoon in my hand, put it in the jar, get it all over the place initially until I could do it without spilling it all over the place.
Yes.
Well, that takes, weeks and months and years to tie your shoes, to learn how to eat, to learn how to brush your teeth.
All these things that are automatic now. Yes.
All the things that are automatic now. So before something's automatic, it's not.
Yeah, and it can feel really uncomfortable.
Right. So let's take a disempowering belief that you have. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm too young. I'm too old. I'm female. I'm male. Whatever it is, you have a disempowering belief. It's nothing more than a pattern in the brain. So somehow, a pattern that wasn't there before got there. Right? Who told you that? Your parents, your teachers, your brother, your sister, your best friend said, you'll never amount. Or who did that? It's really irrelevant. But if the pattern is there and it's a dominant pattern because you've believed it for 20, 30, 40 years, whatever the case might be, and it's been reinforced, what does brain science say about how do I get rid of it? And it says, well, you'll never get rid of it, but you can deactivate it.
Okay.
How do I deactivate
I like
it?
where this is going.
Right? How do I deactivate it? So every time I catch myself saying I'm not good enough, or fill in the blank, take any limiting belief, and anytime you catch yourself saying it or feeling it, what if you said to yourself, stop. In the past, I used to believe that, and now I believe I'm more than good enough. In the past, I used to feel like I'm too young, but now I can use my age as a benefit to achieve that goal. Any limiting belief, we can do one of a couple things. We can say, in the past, I used to. And so what we're doing is we're not saying, no, stop that. We're not reinforcing a limiting belief by trying to fight it. We acknowledge it's just a pattern.
Embracing it.
And just say, in the past, I used to believe that. And now here's what I'm choosing to believe. So now what I'm doing is I'm taking an existing neural pattern and I'm changing the pattern. I'm taking away its energetic force by adding new words that I'm choosing now versus the ones that were given to me or the ones that I felt when I was too young to actually change it on my own then. So now I'm paying attention to my self-talk.
Let's say, you and I are buddies. We want to start a business, or we have a business. Come on, let's crush it. All right, let's do this thing. Let's triple our income this year. Let's make 30% more net revenues. Let's travel the world. Let's live this lifestyle that's amazing. And we get excited. Right? So we go, oh yeah, oh my God, that's great. Let's do this. High fives all around. Dopamine's released. We feel great. We shared with our friends. We release oxytocin. So we bonded. Oh my God, I love you and you love me. And we feel great. And we're going to conquer the world. And that happens all the time. But let's say that underneath the hood, there's a fear of, I'm not smart enough, or I'm not good enough, or what if I fail and I embarrass myself? What if I succeed and I can't maintain it? What if I'm ridiculed because I try so hard and my friends will laugh at me? There are 50 different types of fears that are almost in everybody's memory bank that gets brought up to the surface. And when the fear circuit lights up, which is, bam, automatically within either moments, hours, or days, when you start realizing what is it going to really take to double or triple my income and to take the time off that I want, as soon as that happens, when the fear circuit lights up, then the system, the neuroelectrical chemical system floods with epinephrine, cortisol, and norepinephrine. What is that? Those are just 3 of the 100 chemicals in the brain that are part of the stress response system. Whenever you and I and everybody watching or listening thinks about or feels that there is potential danger, potential pain, whether it's emotional pain like being embarrassed or ashamed, or financial pain like not being able to have enough money to pay for my food or for my burger or for my cocktails or for my rent or my car or my airline ticket. If there is real or imagined possibility of discomfort, pain, the brake on motivation slams shut and we start to procrastinate. So we have this incredible system that can give us this motivation, the motive for action to go forward, but we have to temper it with our ability to recognize the trigger and the sensation in our body called a feeling that the non-conscious processing part of the brain that gives us this emotion called fear. All fear is processed at the non-conscious level of your awareness and then gives rise into the frontal lobes of the feeling that your body has. The average person that has not been trained feels fear and puts the brake on and goes and retreats into what they're comfortable doing. The successful person, either they may be genetically wired to understand feeling fear and doing it anyway, turning their fear into fuel, but that's not the majority of people. That's why 90+% of people fail and stay in that position. But you can take that fuel, that hypersensitive rocket fuel, I call it, and utilize it to actually motivate you faster, further than you ever got before.
Yeah.
Fascinating systems. If you don't know how to use them, too bad. It's like not knowing that a gun has got bullets in it and you pull the trigger. You go, holy shit, just blew my brains out. Not that you'd be able to, say that. They'd be like game over.
but ignorance is not your friend when it comes to neurochemistry.
Well, when the fear signal has kicked in, all right, it's releasing the neurochemicals, like I said, epinephrine, cortisol, norepinephrine, which is adrenaline. And some of it's good. Too much of it will cause you to fight, to freeze, to flee, run away, or to faint. Those are the 4, okay, possible outcomes for the stress response or fear response system when it kicks in. So when that switch is turned on, think of it as a light switch that just turned on in your brain, and then there's a cascade, okay, of neurochemicals that causes a feeling. If you focus on the feeling, then you're going to think about what you feel, then you're going to feel what you think about, and you create this self-fulfilling doom loop of neurochemicals being rushed in your body. And if you do that every day, every week, every month, over and over again, you've now just set up a doom loop habit where that fear is going to drive your thoughts and emotions and behaviors or lack thereof. But what I want you to do is recognize the fear calmly. And you do this as soon as you recognize the fear that you can bring up on your own. You do the first inner size, okay? Inner size, exercise for your physical body and your organs, inner size for your neuromuscles, all right? So when you feel fear, be in observation of it like the light comes on in the dash of your car. And then what you do is you take 6 deep breaths, but here's how you do it. In through your nose, out through your mouth like you're blowing out of a straw. So it goes like this. 6 breaths, 10 seconds each. Ready? Deep rhythmic breath in, up to the lungs. Expand the diaphragm so you get the diaphragm and the lungs expanding. And you breathe out like you're breathing through a straw. So you focus the energy out through the mouth. It causes your brain to actually get oxygenated. And guess why you want that? Well, when we're in a state of fear, we activate, okay, the vagus nerve, which constricts your blood flow. It slows down your heartbeat. It causes shallow breathing. So as soon as you alternate from that stress and react system to the calm and respond system, your brain shuts off the fear circuit and activates the left prefrontal cortex, and when you can think, because blood flow goes back there again. So if fear is holding you back, there's nothing wrong with fear, but there just may be a lack of skill of knowing when or what to do. Does this make sense so far? So when you take those 6 deep rhythmic breaths, that is what deactivates that stress response system in the brain and activates the relax and respond. You want to be in a responsive state as much as possible versus a reactive state. So how do you recognize and overcome fear? Well, you pay attention. You become mindful. You sit and take some deep breaths and ask yourself some really good questions. What fears are holding me back? Like just get real. Get real with yourself. Don't be afraid. Be afraid of the truth. If you understand the truth and then you have some knowledge and skills to work through, you can change that. So the Take 6, Calm the Circuits is the first inner size. I'm going to give you a slight variation of Take 6, Calm the Circuits as you do the next inner size, and it's called AYA, Awareness, Intention, and Action. So in this particular inner size, you take 6 rhythmic deep breaths to calm the circuits, but here's a slight variation. This is like a little bit more advanced, right? So what you do is as you breathe in, you say in the back of your mind, I breathe in calmness. I breathe out fear. So it goes like this. So as you are breathing in calmness, feel yourself getting calm from a level 10, fearful, to 8, to 6, to 4, to 2, to just letting go of the fear. And as you breathe in calmness and you breathe out fear, I want you to visualize fear leaving your body. Just release it. Remember, it's a neurochemistry that you're feeling. So what you do is you give your brain the instruction of what you want. So I breathe in calmness, I breathe out fear, or I breathe in calmness, I breathe out stress, or I breathe in calmness, I breathe out anxiety. Just a few seconds of that is the first part of the exercise. But then what you do is then you say, right after you do that, you now become aware and have a piece of paper next to you. And in the awareness state, what you want to do is become awareness of thoughts, feelings, emotions, sensations, and behaviors. Thoughts, feelings, emotions, sensations, and behaviors. So the first part is you become aware. No shame, no blame, no guilt, no judgment, no justification, just pure awareness. Then you ask yourself, in this calm, relaxed state where you're able to respond, you ask yourself, what's my intention right now? Is my intention to be fearful? No. Is my intention to be courageous? Yes. Is my intention to overcome my fear? Yes. Great. So you have the awareness. You set one intention, not 5, one intention. And then the last A is action. What is one action I could take? One action towards achieving whatever goal I have. So maybe one action is I'm going to write one line of my book. One action is I'm going to just make one phone call. One action is I'm going to ask for help. One action to move you away from what you don't want and move you towards what you do want.
If you have limiting beliefs, like you're not good enough, not worthy enough, you don't have enough money, knowledge, skills, you're too young, you're too old, neural patterns in your brain is what beliefs are. And we have constructive ones, destructive ones, empowering ones, disempowering ones, positive and negative neural patterns called beliefs. The key is to deactivate the beliefs that disempower you and to create a new belief that matches the vision and goal you have. Then we have the fears that I talked about. I'm going to give you a couple techniques. If you have a fear of having a goal and failing, you're not going to take action, because as soon as that circuit turns on for the failure circuit, which is the fear circuit, and guess what happens? All of the motivation that you had goes out the window, and you either fight, freeze, or flee, meaning running away, doing something else like procrastinate instead of doing what you need to do. So if you have a fear of failure, a fear of success, a fear of being embarrassed, ashamed, ridiculed, or judged, these are going to turn off your motivational centers and activate your fear centers. So I'm not going to leave you hanging without a solution. First and foremost, understand that you and I became conditioned because of our parents, our teachers, television, radio, our experiences, what we heard, what we saw, what meanings we gave things, which means that we became conditioned. We weren't born with any beliefs or fears or self-image challenges. We developed them. And in neuroscience and neuropsychology terms means that we developed the patterns that got reinforced that become the natural, easy way for us to be, even though we may not want it. So what if you wrote down a limiting belief that you had? Okay, I'm not smart enough, not good enough, not worthy, I don't have the money, I don't have the time, I don't have this, I'm too young, I'm too old. Write out whatever you want. And then what if you just created a new language pattern and reframed it and said, in the past, I used to believe, fill in the blank, and now I believe that I am smart enough, I am good enough, I am worthy, I can achieve this, I can find the money, I can upgrade my knowledge, I can upgrade my skills, and I'm excited and enthusiastic to achieve the vision and goal of, and write in the blank. Now, if you wrote that out and you repeated it and emotionalized it and felt it as if you were a Hollywood actor or actress learning a new role, you would activate something called the neuroplasticity switch in your brain that would cause new neurons to connect. And if you reinforced it for the next 100 days by reading it, emotionalizing it, recording it and listening to it, you would take a new pattern that you wrote out and then you would impress it through spaced repetition. Repetition, okay, is what is required in order to strengthen and reinforce a neural pattern. And practice is what makes permanent. Let me repeat, practicing a paragraph or an affirmation of what you want is what makes permanent. What that means is it makes the neural network permanent and it replaces the old pattern. It takes 66 days to 365 days to do this. So don't do it for a week going, nothing's happening. 66 days to 365 days. That's for limiting beliefs. There's something in the weight loss industry field called a fat set point. And every brain has a fat set point. And it basically states that you have a set point, just like a thermostat that's programmed in a room to have a set point. We have fat set points. We have financial set points. We have relationship set points. We have these set points that we become accustomed to achieving. And then all of the supporting evidence, the stories, the themes, the plot lines, the perceptions and behaviors all must match the set point. And so you can ask yourself two questions. Number one is, how did that set point get there? And then how do I change it? Right? So how it got there is through all of your conditioning, through what you've read, what you've done, what you've experienced, what you've been told, what you've seen. All of that has created your financial set point based on your story. And so the first thing to recognize is the set point can be changed. And the question is how, right? And that's the $1 million question. So number one, what drives behavior more than anything else? It's not skill. It's not knowledge. Skill and knowledge is potential power, but what does drive behavior more than anything else is beliefs. And so if there is a belief in the brain that says, yes, I think I'm capable of achieving double my income. We'll just use double my income. But there's another belief that opposes that. That causes what we know as neural dissonance. So it creates a chaotic vibration in the brain between the conscious and non-conscious mind. So the key is to get alignment between the new goal, which is a conscious pattern of thought that you can choose in an instant, and the non-conscious part of the brain around that goal. So how do you develop a belief, right? So it's a pattern. So if I gave you a sentence and you said that sentence one time, you probably, great, it'd be a sentence like one. I was like hearing a line in a song one time. But if you heard a line in a song repeatedly 20, 30, 40, 50 times, and you had other associations with that to reinforce that pattern, then you would start to develop a non-conscious pattern through that. So we know that using, let's say, visualization, you're actually bypassing the conscious mind and you're accessing the visual cortex of the brain. It's a non-conscious process, the visual processor. And so if we take words and we affirm them and we feel them and we visualize them and repeat them 100, 200, 500, 1,000 times, now we start to create a pattern at the non-conscious level that basically reinforces a conscious desire. And so that's really why I developed NeuroGym.
You all know that you have a conscious part of your brain that's responsible for certain things, okay? But then you also have a subconscious part of the brain, subconscious. And so what is this 800-pound gorilla that prevents you from achieving your goals? Like, what is it? Like, what do you think it is about the subconscious that prevents you from achieving your goals when consciously you want to achieve your goals, right? Consciously you want to achieve your goals. And Kamyar, yeah, we have, right hemisphere and left hemisphere of the brain. And in between, okay, we have something called the corpus callosum that connects both hemispheres. And contrary to popular belief, we're not left brain dominant or right brain dominant. We use all of our brain every 24 hours, so you don't use only 5 or 10% of your brain. The possibilities are endless, all right? But when you're talking about the gorilla, the subconscious is the, what I talk about in the book, right, is I named it the gorilla. So conscious and subconscious, yes. And so tell me what you know about the subconscious mind. Like, if it is the 800-pound gorilla, what do we know, right? The gorilla gets what the gorilla wants. And so if you ask yourself a question of, do I really know how to get my subconscious mind aligned with my conscious desires and goals? So answer that question for me. Answer me that riddle. Do you know how to get your subconscious mind? And by the way, the subconscious is not like here and the conscious is here. We know that the left prefrontal cortex, for example, is the seat of awareness, and it's the seat of decision making. It's the seat of choosing what we want. We know that this part of the brain we call the left prefrontal cortex, and it's what I call is the Einstein part of the brain. It can figure things out. You consciously can figure things out. The right prefrontal cortex is the pessimist, or what I refer to as the Frankenstein part of the brain that moves into the memory system and brings forth anything that may get you into trouble, anything that may be painful, anything that might hurt you. And so there's these things going on in the brain. If you think of your brain as an orchestra, and some of your brain is responsible to play certain pieces, and other parts of your brain are there to protect you. When those pieces oppose each other or are not in alignment, then you have chaos. If everybody could imagine for a moment you're driving a car and everything's going great, and all of a sudden a light pops up on your dash. Now, the average person won't take a hammer and hit the light to turn it off. An average person will take a look at, what is that light? Am I low on windshield wiper fluid? Am I low on air in my tires? Is my back trunk open? What's going on? So just like the signal in a car is meant to make you aware, fear is a trigger in our subconscious mind that real or imagined danger has percolated in our brain. And so fear, there's nothing wrong with fear. We can actually use fear as fuel. Now, I like to, give people visuals. So imagine if you have, two parts of your brain. There's many more, but imagine these two. We have the Einstein brain and we have the Frankenstein brain. And when fear gets activated, let's assume that that's our Frankenstein brain going, what if? What if you get hurt? What if you lose money? What if you die? What if you get embarrassed, ashamed, ridiculed, or judged? And so why does Frankenstein even get activated? Because we're not born with those fears. And so if we're not born with those fears, that means that something in our brain is triggering this reaction automatically without our thought. And that is what we call as the fear response. And we also know that that fear response causes something called the sympathetic nervous system to activate, which causes us to want to fight, freeze, or run away. That's just the absolute reaction at a biological level of what is happening. Now, when we want to deactivate that sympathetic nervous system, there's several what I call our exercises that we can do that actually gives us more control, more power, and the ability to reactivate the Einstein part of the brain. So exercise number one is really, really simple. It's called Take 6, Calm the Circuits. So as soon as you catch yourself in a state of doubt, fear, worry, anxiety, stress, that means that Frankenstein's activated. If you just took 6 deep breaths in through your nose as slowly as you could, and then you exhaled as if you're exhaling through a straw in your mouth, If you just did that 6 times, that very simple exercise would deactivate the Frankenstein brain and allow you to reactivate your thinking, imagination, Einstein part of your brain. And then you can do the second exercise, which puts you right back in control. And that one I call is AYA, A-I-A, which is now a matter of awareness. Awareness of my thoughts, emotions, feelings, sensations, or the behaviors that I've just taken, or the one I'm afraid to take. And in a pure state of awareness without judgment, blame, shame, guilt, or justification. Let me repeat, without any judgment, blame, shame, guilt, or justification of the feeling or the thought or the behavior, now I'm empowered again because now I can observe. And now in this observational mode, I could say, okay, what's my intention, let's say for the next 10 minutes? Well, my intention is to be happy. Great. My intention is to be productive. Great. My intention is to, take action on this one thing that's going to help me towards my goal and dream. So in the awareness and in the intention, then if I say, what's one small action step I could take towards what I want instead of what I don't want? So all of a sudden, I've interrupted a fear pattern. I've created this state of awareness. I've set an intention, and now I'm taking action towards what I want versus being paralyzed by what I don't want and a fear that may or may not be real. So awareness is what actually gives us choice, and choice is what actually gives us freedom if we make the right choices.
When I was 19 years old, okay, when I had a mentor, a man who was in his 50s, very, very successful, he agreed to mentor me and to teach me what he knew. And so he sent me home with some paper. And on the paper it said, what do you want to achieve in your health? What do you want to achieve in your relationships? What do you want to achieve financially? What do you want to achieve charity? What do you want to achieve as far as experiences? When do you want to retire by? How much money do you want to make?
Wow.
He asked me about 10 pages of questions. And at 19, I had no idea. Like, how much do I want to make? I want to make enough to pay my bills. I want to make enough to, just eat well and then have some fun. I want to go drinking with my friends. I want to go party and travel a little bit and pay for my apartment and a nice car and things like that. But he had me think, 1 year, 5 years, 25 years.
Wow.
And I was 19, and he made me write down the answers to these questions, even though I had no idea how to achieve them. He made me write it down. It took me a whole weekend. And then I went back and he looked at my papers. And so he looked at health and wealth and relationships and career and business. And he goes, good, way to do the exercise. I'm very proud of you. He says, now I want you to increase that amount. And so I said that, by the time I was 45, I was 19. I said, by the time I was 45, I was going to be a millionaire. Nobody in my family was a millionaire. Not my aunts, not my uncles, not my cousins, nobody in the area that we lived in. And I wrote that down. And he says, no, that's not enough. He says, you could do better than that. And I'm like, I'm swallowing, I'm scared, I'm afraid. How am I going to become more than that? How can I have all of this? He says, don't worry about the how right now. You worry only, and not even worry, but you write down what you want. And so I went back home and started to write again.
Again.
And took another, half a day to redo my goals. And he said to me, great, now in order for you to achieve those goals, what do you have to believe?
Wow.
I said, well, I have to believe that I can. I have to believe that I deserve it. And even though I didn't believe that I deserved it, he said, what would you think you had to believe? I have to believe that it could be done. I have to believe that I could learn the skills. I would have to believe. So he made me write out what I would have to believe.
Great question.
And then he said, great, what do you think you would have to do every day?
Wow. Amazing question.
Well, I guess I would have to come to work every day, and I'd have to really get good at what I'm doing, and I'd have to learn more than I'm learning right now because I hated to learn back then, and I'd have to, gain more skills, which I didn't have any. The only thing I was good at was I had an easy time talking to people like I am with you now. And he said, great, well, let's make a list of all of these things, and let's come up with a plan to do this. He said, so every day, let's look at some beliefs. And so every day he would have me look at my goals. And I would sit in my chair and I'd have my goals, that he had me write. And I would take my fingers, which he told me to touch my goals, so that I would send a message to my brain as I was reading it and seeing it to reinforce the goals that I wrote. Then I would read the beliefs that I needed to have. I have all the intelligence I need to achieve these goals. I can now acquire all the skills to achieve these goals. And I read about 20 or 30 different beliefs every day. And for the first month or 2 months, while I was reading all of this, in my head, this one word kept coming up. You know what the word was? Because as I would read it, my brain would say, that's not true. And he told me that my brain would try to talk to me and tell me it's not true. And he said, if you keep doing it over and over and over again, your brain's going to get tired of telling you it's not true. And especially if after you do this, you take some actions to upgrade your knowledge, upgrade your skills, you'll develop more confidence and more certainty. So he taught me how to use the telephone to make telephone calls to people to see if they were interested in buying a real estate property or selling their home. I was in real estate at 19. And for the first month it was hard, second month it was hard, the third month it was hard, but as I got better and more comfortable at being on the telephone, talking to people that I didn't know, that I thought didn't want to hear from me or talk to me, I found one person, then 2 people, then 3 people, then 5 people who said yes. Because as I became more comfortable, as I became more skilled, as I gained more knowledge, people received me differently. And in my first year, I made $30,000. I was 19, which was $5,000 more than my father made as a taxi driver.
Wow.
Then he started to upgrade my skills a little bit more. And he started to teach me some very specific things to do in real estate. And in my second year at 20, I made $151,000.
Wow.
5 times more income, because every day for 1 hour a day, I practiced my beliefs. I practiced seeing my vision. I rehearsed it. I got on the phone. I upgraded my knowledge. I upgraded my skills.
I love your story.
Thank you. And so he kept directing me a little bit at a time to become more tomorrow than I am today. And he said to me something that changed my life. He says, if you invest 1 hour a day on your personal growth and changing who you believe you are, that is the equivalent of 9 40-hour weeks of effort. 1 hour a day for a year is 9 40-hour weeks. If you and I said today, we're going to learn breakdancing, or we're going to learn knitting, and we're going to spend 9 weeks, 40 hours a week, we would get good at painting. We would get good at knitting. We would get good at darts. We would get good at playing a musical instrument if we were committed to 1 hour a day. So I've practiced 1 hour a day for 32 years.
Wow.
And that 1 hour a day It's changed my life. We're in a society that just goes. Texts, emails, phone calls, Facebook, Twitter, Vine. All these things are keeping us on this perpetual hamster wheel of do, that very few people stop and say, what am I doing? What am I not doing? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? So the first part is stop. Second part is to reframe. It's called the 4R process. Recognize is first. Reframe is the way I'm looking at something. And because we are monofocused, the brain cannot focus consciously on more than one thing at a time. All right? It can get distracted to that thing, then this thing, then that thing, then this thing. The art of multitasking is actually one of the worst things that you can do from a neurological perspective. Highly successful people are able to monofocus on the right things. So when you learn to reframe your brain's ability to look at this, then look at this, then look at this, but stay focused on what it is that you're looking at, you see different perspectives of it. The next part is to release the emotional stress that most people's brains are under. How do we get into this emotional stress? Well, when we have fears, there's 50 different types of fears. Fear of success, fear of failure, fear of disappointment, fear of being embarrassed, fear of being ashamed, fear of being ridiculed, fear of fill in the blank. When our brain goes on these automatic fear circuit drives, then we're in a state of fight or flight. In a state of fight or flight, over a course of a day, a week, a month, our ability to actually use our thinking center, the left prefrontal cortex of our brain, actually diminishes. Our brain gets hijacked into this fight or flight response system over and over and over and over and over again. And that response system is actually pretty healthy initially to get you going and out of the gate. But if you are always in this fight or flight response mechanism, you're on this hamster wheel, you actually start to get burnt out. And you can't think, you can't use the genius part of your brain. You can't really activate the part of you that connects to the entire universe of intelligence within you and outside of you. And so you learn to release that tension to be able to put the foot back on the gas, change the gear. If you think about what happens when you're driving a stick shift car, you put your foot on the gas in first gear and the car just goes. But if you keep your foot on the gas in first gear, you're going to burn out the engine. So what happens in the release part of using your brain is you go from first gear, pause, second gear, pause, third gear, pause. You're able to use the engine more efficiently to go faster. Exact same thing with our brains. If we learn how to release the tension and switch gears, release the tension, switch gears, that's the art of release and go. And that causes the fourth R, and that's we retrain our brain to operate at higher levels of our intelligence, genius, and abilities.
If you want another amazing John Assaraf video, check it out right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
We developed a process called the 5R process. And the first R stands for
you retrain your brain one small decision at a time.
And you've got to have meaningful goals.